welcome. And if this is your not your first video, welcome back. My name is Richard, and I'm the collections manager at the Manitoba Indigenous Cultural Education Center. And this video is part of our Conservation Cafe project, where we discuss various materials and ways in which you can try to care for them and keep them in good working order or usable order. I'm here with Amanda.
Yeah. So my name is Amanda McLeod. I'm a member of Saging Anishinaabe Nation, and my background is in conservation and curating. So I did train officially in conservation, but it was very focused on institutions and museums. And so my practice is actually based in finding a balance between the official training that I got and the practical and respectful care for Indigenous objects. So what I'll be talking about today is kind of how to care for stuff that you might have in your home and using materials that you would also have on hand.
Perfect. And in this situation, we have a framed and matted moose tufting.
Yeah, and so the moose hair tufting is dyed. So you've got the dyeing material in there, you've got the threads, and you've got the base that it's on. Can't really tell what it is from here because it is framed, but it's all it's what we would call in conservation a composite object. So it's a bunch of different materials, and so that sometimes makes it fun to care for stuff like that. But again, the thing with museums a lot of the times is kind of this focus on having everything just last as long as possible, but that's not necessarily how we interact with our own materials in our communities. So in community, a lot of the times the purpose is to keep it in use and in relationship. And so with this one, what's interesting is we actually, you can't really see it on camera, but from here we can see that there is actually some fogging on the inside of the glass, and it's only where it's not where the matting is, it's only where the material that the tufting is on. And so it's on the inside of the glass, and so it's dirty. And we were just talking about it before we were filming about we're talking about what you can do, but we're actually talking about what Richard's going to have to do to fix this. Pretty soon. So a big thing with the moose hide or the moose hair is it's something that insects love, and so you want to make sure to protect it as much as you can. And frames are great to protect, but they're also insects can still get in there. Mold can build up in there if moisture is getting in as well, so it can trap that stuff in. So you really want to make sure to keep an eye on anything like this that you have framed, like this where we can see that the fogging has happened. We don't really know why it happened. We were talking about it could be the materials, it could be the fact that we noticed on the back that there's a square of cardboard used to support the tufting in the back. But cardboard is very acidic, and if it's in contact with anything for a long time, it'll just kind of leach those acids out. So that could also be interacting with the material that the tufting is on. So that's a big thing. So you want to make sure to keep an eye on the framing. Here in Winnipeg and in Manitoba, we can get pretty high humidity. So a good thing too with these is to also open them up so they can actually breathe as well. If you're going to do any cleaning, make sure to just do the cleaning on the framing itself. If you're going to use liquids, so if you're cleaning just the frame, it's good to use just a damp washcloth or something. You could use like an old t-shirt, an old pillowcase, like that's cotton, in water, wipe down the framing. If you're going to do the glass, it's fine to use chemical cleaner on the glass, but don't spray it directly on the glass, because if you have it, say, hanging on the wall and you spray the cleaner on, it's going to drip down and it can get into the crevices at the bottom, and then you're dealing with kind of a buildup of moisture in that way. If you take it apart, again, you just clean the glass, make sure it's everything's completely dry before you put it back together, to make sure there's no moisture trapped in there. When you're talking about cleaning the actual tufting, I wouldn't incorporate any liquid. Like I wouldn't use like saliva, which is used a lot in museums because it's a fantastic cleaner. I wouldn't use water because again, you're talking about like there's dye on it, and hair fibers are really susceptible to to water and to moisture. I would just brush them. If you find that it's dusty, to just use a really, really soft brush to dust it. A good example is actually a makeup brush. Makeup brushes are really, really soft to use on your skin, so they're also good to use on kind of delicate material like this. And I guess in terms of storage, a good thing to do is to put it in a sleeve if you can. And when I mean sleeve, you can actually just use a pillowcase again, like a cotton pillowcase, and just to try to keep out dust, because dust can build up in frames as well. Try not to lean, because things do warp if you lean stuff for a really long time, especially if you end up putting it in a place that is humid. We say don't put it in a place that's humid, like try to avoid attics, try to avoid basements. But the reality is, like, our storage spaces a lot of the times are in the attics and the basements, but try not to just lean them against the wall, because it can cause the framing to warp after a while. And when you're hanging them, if you can, try to avoid putting them on exterior walls. If you can put them on interior walls, fantastic, because then it doesn't really get, you don't have that big fluctuation in temperature. Right. And then also it kind of keeps moisture away a bit better.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. In terms of hanging as well, and sometimes it can be useful also to think about 2 screws in the wall. It's also easier to typically level something with 2 screws, but it also gives you 2 points of contact with the wall instead of just 1. There's also things called D-rings that you can use that are actually really great to use for hanging on the wall. It can just be a little trickier because you have to be much more precise with where you put your screws. But certainly a little bit more security on the wall will go a long way to protect the item from being bumped off the wall or just sort of fluctuations throughout the year.
And a big thing here too is, like, we have the matting around it, so the white part around it. And we actually don't know the information on the materials that are in here. And so a lot of the times it's best, if possible, to use acid-free matting. So the matting that you would get, say, with a picture frame, if you picked it up at Michael's or at Walmart, a lot of the times it's not acid-free. And if you take it, say, to Michael's for something to be framed for you, you have to specify that you want it to be acid-free. But there are places, I'm speaking about Winnipeg because we're here and I know Winnipeg better, but there are places that are specifically just framing places, and a lot of the times they're actually cheaper than taking it to a place like Michael's to get it framed. But the reason for that is because, again, like we were talking about the cardboard and it having acid leach out. If you have matting in there that does have acid, if it's not acid free, it will also kind of off gas over time, and then it can affect moisture, and it can attract insects and stuff, and it can affect just the materials that are all kind of sealed together within a frame. So
and then there was one last thing that I wanted to say. It'll come to me. But while I figure that out, there's also, we've been able to create a bit of a, I say we, it was Amanda who made the checklist, and I will put it on the MICC website. So if you are working on things like this and you want a bit of a support document to help you work through some of these things, you can go to our website at micc.com, and it'll be in one of the top menu items, and you can find it there. I may also link to it if this is on YouTube in the description, so it's also available there. And you had said because the cardboard is acidic, one of the quick ways to do it to sort of mitigate that was to just put printer paper.
Put a barrier between if the cardboard is necessary to kind of fill in the frame and to hold everything in place. To just put a barrier in between, and it's as simple as putting plain printer paper in between the backing of the piece and the front of the cardboard.
Right. And if it was any bigger, because like this one is roughly printer paper size, if it's bigger than that, would you recommend a certain type of tape to sort of make a larger piece, or would you No. Okay.
Don't introduce piece. If you put tape in there, then you're also putting adhesive, and adhesive can also off gas after a while. So if you can, try to get a larger piece of of printer paper,
Okay.
or even tissue paper is usable. It'd be great if you could get acid-free tissue paper, which is actually pretty easy to get online.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of a barrier in
Maybe-
between the acidic materials.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we'll add resources like that on the checklist.
Yeah.
To help you find those things online as well, because that can go a long way to make your life a lot easier. Great.
It's a beautiful piece.
It is very nice. Oh,
Yes.
It's sensitive to light, right? And so when you're
It is.
hanging it,
Yes,
be mindful.
try to avoid direct sunlight, because it will it'll fade the dyes over time, but it can also break down
Yeah.
the
The natural materials, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the structure of the hair follicles over time. So you don't want any color changes. You don't want it to start flaking and breaking apart. So if you can avoid
Yeah.
having it in direct sunlight, and even sometimes like the reflective sunlight can affect it over time. So,
Yeah. That said, it's always a balancing act. Like if it needs to be in the sunlight for specific situations, just take that in mind and maybe then remove it and put it somewhere where it can kind of rest for a while before it comes back out into light, because it's the long-term consistent exposure that it's hard to actually see the damage, but if you sort of say left it in the sun, went away for 3 years, came back, you would notice the difference. So that's the challenge of making sure you're mindful of it, because it's not always obvious on the daily that you're doing damage. So
yeah, and it might actually show when you take it apart, you could see that the part of, say, the material that the tufting is on is being held in place by the matting, and so what's protected by the matting would stay the original color.
Yeah.
Versus what was exposed to sunlight, if it was.
yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful, and we have a few more videos to make. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.